Alrighty, welcome back, porn fans. We're returning here for the regional semifinals today with John Horstick Johnson stepping up to the bat today. Now, a lot of people have had a lot of things to say about this rookie newcomer, and he has most certainly been described as the underdog by analysts since the beginning of the season. But I don't think that anyone can deny the raw talent that this man brings to the table. A man who has single-handedly, and I mean that quite literally, but he has single-handedly brought the jackhammer playstyle back into the modern field of play, a playstyle that has been abandoned since the 90s because of how inconsistent the move can be, or more specifically, how inconsistent the results can be. But Johnson seems to be the first person in such a long time who can really judge when this move is effective, when this move is appropriate, and when to fall back on more traditional methods. Now, we just heard back from our analyst desk, and while they fully expect this to be a spectacular performance, they do not believe that this will be able to outshine the sticky shower that we witnessed out of Boris the Fountain Rezanov yesterday. To quote our head analyst, Johnson has a lot of talent, and this performance is not a performance that you can afford to miss if you call yourself a pornography connoisseur. However, it's very unlikely that he will be able to compare with the dominating display that Boris showed us yesterday. We haven't seen excretions of that volume or velocity in quite some time in the professional scene, and his 10, 10, 9, 10 scores speak for themselves. That being said, Johnson seems quite ready to begin, and we can see him stepping calmly into the ring. Everyone, make some noise! Now, Cotton, you have to imagine that this guy is under a lot of pressure, and I'm not just talking about his genitals. It looks like he's going to be going off to a very good start. He's achieved erection in a blazing time, already a faster time than Boris, although, as the analyst desk pointed out earlier, the uptime for Boris is certainly one of his main weaknesses, and Johnson is good to have been able to capitalize on it, as he cannot realistically expect to have much room for error in this match. He's taken diving position and is taking aim using a one-handed approach. Now, for those at home who may be confused by this, as traditionally players will opt to go for a two-handed entrance, you have to look at the pros and the cons of the scenario. The one-hand approach, that being one hand guiding the missile and the other hand anchoring you to a floor or a handle or something like that. In this approach, you lose out on accuracy, but you do gain in thrusting power. Now, typically, this risk versus reward scenario isn't favored by most players, but in Johnson's position, he has to take some risks in order to have a chance against Boris. And while if this move pays off for him, it could snowball him into a very good, very favorable opening. No pun intended on the opening, but with the whole size that we're looking at today, it's going to take a lot of maneuverability to achieve penetration, but I think that this is certainly a possibility for our rookie here. And there's the thrust, he's going for it, he's done it! He's successfully achieved penetration. You can hear the crowds go wild with applause. Now, Johnson isn't out of the woods right yet, folks, and it seems like he's opting for a missionary position game strategy this afternoon, and Cotton, this is smart. He's got a good opening, the balls are in his court, so to speak, and he's going for a more of a classical play, something that, while sure, it's nothing new, nothing we haven't seen before, but it's tried and true. Nothing too fancy here, certainly none of the rotating hip motions we saw yesterday, and it looks like he's refraining from overly committing to spanking, which is avoiding the common mistake of over-spanking that we've seen from some of our French competitors in the early stages of this season. And as I said, sure, it might not be anything pretty, but you know what, Cotton? It gets the job done, and at the end of the day, you can't argue with results like those. Johnson is identifying when he needs to play it safe and when he's forced to make a play, and that is certainly something that a lot of players struggle with, especially in high levels of play such as this. Oh, and a bit of a risky move here, Cotton, from our underdog. This could be disastrous for him. It looks like he's going for the squirt, kind of a Hail Mary play coming out of the rookie. And this early into the game, this isn't a mistake he can really afford to make. Sure, if he pulls this off, it would pay off massively for him. But going into the scene of Johnson going into Sarah, you have to have your doubts. You can all but hear the crowd holding their breath as Johnson commits to his play, which is smart. The last thing you want to do mid-game is switch tactics mid-thrust. It comes off as sloppy, and I've seen a lot of players lose solely off of that. Now we have the camera zooming in, and this is the moment of truth. Do we see the score? And there it is! John Horstick Johnson has done it! Oh my god. Who could have predicted it? Our analyst desk certainly forecasted an impressive performance today, but I don't think anybody, Cotton, could have been able to predict this outcome right here. This could very well be the next game of the century, man. What a game. Nobody saw this rookie coming, but today, that is exactly what we saw. And not only that, but we will be seeing him coming once again in the finals later this week. The crowds are going crazy. I cannot accurately describe the sensation that you feel sweeping across this arena. But much to the surprise of, I think, everyone here, I am ecstatic to tell you that the rookie has indeed beaten Boris the Fountain Rezanov. As you can see, the judges showing their scores of 10, 10, 10, and 10. A perfect score. This surely is a monumentous occasion in competitive adult performing.